Without doubt, corruption constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to the well-being, national security, and economy of Nigeria.
Federal government declares corruption a national emergency. In the face of continuous threats to national security, the law cannot remain docile. This is coming from the Attorney General of the Federation as the law officers converge on Abuja to proffer solution to rising insecurity. And All Progressives Congress Appeal Committee submits report. Hello there and a warm welcome to NTN Network News. I'm Joseph Johnson in Abuja. And reading with me tonight is Dotun Ogunyemi in Lagos and Mariam Adura is in Jos. All right, let's get to it. The federal government has formally declared corruption as a national emergency as a firm resolve to tackle the perilous counterattack on the Nigerian state by corrupt elements. President Muhammadu Buhari announced these while signing an Executive Order number 6 of 2018 aimed at preserving assets connected with corruption and other related offences. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Records show that the aggregate value of funds involved in some ongoing prosecution of corruption cases stands at over 595.4 billion naira. Most worrisome to government, however, is that defendants in the high-profile cases still have unrestricted access to such funds, thereby making the administrative and judicial processes in the fight against corruption difficult. But not anymore. This Executive Order number 6, signed by President Muhammadu Buhari, will prevent persons involved in corruption cases from using such funds to compromise the cause of justice, national security, and corporate existence of the country. The President said, although his administration has kept faith with his promise, there will be no relenting of efforts until Nigeria triumphs over the evil of corruption, attains a prosperous economic status, and surmounts prevalent security challenges.
Without doubt, corruption constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to the well-being, national security, and economy of Nigeria. It has thus become necessary to rekit and retool our arsenal to be able to effectively tackle corruption's perilous counterattack against the Nigerian state. The federal government of Nigeria seeks to ensure that the ends of justice is not defeated or compromised by persons involved in a case or complaint of corruption.
President Buhari was emphatic that as the real battle against corruption continues towards preventing the killing of Nigeria by the cankerworm, the federal government is prepared to go all out to possess grounds yet to be covered by cutting off any means that facilitates corruption or supports its growth.
The fight against corruption is one that must be fought by everyone wherever corruption rears its head. I call on all stakeholders and indeed every Nigerian to give effect to this executive order.
Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami described the executive order as in the best interest of Nigeria, not only from the perspective of the fight against corruption, but also the dimension relating to insecurity associated with deployment of products of corruption in its sad escalation.
We are now confronted with a situation where they are using the humongous loot still in their possession, either directly or through proxies, to continuously launch attacks designed to subvert critical national and state institutions and processes, including undermining the security agencies themselves, and ultimately attempting to foist a system of corruption on the country. It is a notorious fact that corruption poses serious threat to Nigeria's continuous existence.
Executive Order number 6, as the federal government insists, is not designed to forfeit people's property, but rather to temporarily deny them access so that such cannot be used in corrupting or interfering with investigative and judicial processes. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Now, I am now being joined by Professor Sadiq Radda, a Professor of Criminology, Bayero University and member, Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption. Professor, you're welcome to NTN Network News. Is another milestone in the fight against corruption, isn't it? But how instructive is this critical step taken by the President in declaring national emergency on corruption? And how does it impact on the work of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption?
I want to begin by saying that this is a very happy day for Nigeria and a very happy day for Africa. We just came back from the 31st AU Summit, and the President gave a report regarding the fight against corruption in Nigeria and Africa. Now, this Executive Order number 6 will give further convincing evidence to the world that Nigeria is serious, the President is serious. Consequently, you are going to find more efforts geared towards the fight against corruption by the anti-corruption agencies and more input from the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption. In this regard, you can say that it's a milestone. It has come at the right time, a time when those who have really looted the country are conspiring against the entire people of the country, and they are trying to compromise the system. So this presidential order has come at the right time and is going to be handy and is going to facilitate the work of nearly all anti-corruption agencies, the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, and even other law enforcement agencies are going to find it very handy. So it's going to be useful.
Okay, Prof, just untangle this for me if you can, as quickly as possible. Now, there is a link between corruption, peace and security, is there? Now, if there is, how should the order be interpreted by Nigerians?
Frankly, you can say that everybody wins if corruption is defeated. It is a win-win situation for Nigeria, Africa, and the world if there is no corruption, because without corruption, people get what they deserve and what they want. And without corruption, the elite live in peace, security, and prosperity. But reverse is the case if you have corruption. That is why the United Nations organization says, with corruption, everybody pays. In other words, so long as you have corruption, nobody will be spared. In this regard, the looters and the victims of looting, women, children, the aged, young, literate and illiterate are going to suffer from corruption. And in this regard, the flip side of the argument is that if you don't have corruption, then things are going to flow on naturally and things will take shape to the benefit of everybody. And in a situation where you have corruption, then those resources meant for everybody are cornered by a few. Then there can be peace. In this regard, you can say that corruption allows a situation where somebody who deserves something gets nothing. Then corruption allows a situation where somebody who doesn't deserve anything gets all of it. There can be peace, there can be stability, there can be progress. Therefore, for countries like Nigeria and many countries in Africa, which has been made amply clear during the AU summit, is that for the stability, progress, and prosperity of Africa, let us fight corruption with all our energy. Doing that benefits everybody. It is not the leaders that benefit alone. Rather, the common man benefits, middle class benefits, upper class benefits. Everybody benefits if there is no corruption. Why? Because the infrastructure, the social harmony, the stability, the progress will be there for everybody to see. But with corruption, the United Nations says, and I agree totally, everybody pays. Without corruption, then everybody gains. Without corruption, there will be peace, there will be prosperity. With corruption, there will be insecurity. And Nigeria is a case study of that.
So thank you very much indeed for your thoughts. I've been speaking with Professor Sadiq Radda, a Professor of Criminology, Bayero University, and member Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption. Thank you very much indeed for joining us from there. To other matters now, President Muhammadu Buhari has made a passionate appeal to Nigerians to bury their differences and support the federal government to identify, name and shame those bent on stoking the fires of ethnic and religious conflicts for political gains. The president stated these at an audience with members of the Christian Association of Nigeria from the 19 northern states in Abuja. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who described the recent killings in Benue, Zamfara and Plateau states as wicked, condemnable and completely unacceptable, said all Nigerians must rise as one to ensure that the culprits, no matter how highly placed, are brought to justice.
Let me make it clear that even a single life lost in any part of the country is one too many. I came to office vowing to ensure the protection of lives and properties, and I remain committed to this. I therefore seek your support as clerics and religious leaders to join hands with this administration and give us your full support. As you all know, deploying law enforcement agencies is fully our responsibility as a government, while creating the platforms and mechanisms for dialogue and peace building is a collective effort. We owe it to the memory of all those that lost their lives in the violence since 1999 to bring the conflicts to a decisive end. I assure you that we will do this.
The president announced that hundreds of suspects have so far been arrested across the various flashpoints and prosecutions are ongoing, saying, however, that Nigerians are right by saying they want to see more convictions. To this end, he appealed to the judiciary to help fast-track these cases.
When some, for clearly political purposes, attempt to suggest this government is doing nothing about the killings and that I, being Fulani, must be encouraging these satanic acts, it seems to me that there is no limit to the evil in the minds of men. Otherwise, how can anyone in their right minds suggest that I, as an elected president, even with substantial votes in the affected areas, will for any reason wish any harm, let alone do harm by act of omission to those same people?
President Buhari said, although there are no fewer than 3 special military intervention forces in the troubled zones, lasting peace can only be achieved with sincere and active cooperation of communities, religious leaders, youth, the media, and other stakeholders.
Let us collectively shame those who are stoking the fires of ethnic and religious conflict for their short-term political gains. This country belongs equally to Christians, Muslims, and even those who claim ignorance of God.
Leader of the delegation, Reverend Yakubu Pam, had enumerated some demands from the Christian community in northern Nigeria. These include an urgent review of the nation's security architecture, rebuilding of communities ravaged by the attacks, and provision of adequate security for farmers in the region.
Being here today is to say to him, if there is a way these killings will be stopped in our region, in northern Nigeria, because most of the people being killed are innocent people. And I believe we have hope as the father of the nation. He will do something about it.
In this case, it's no longer an issue of blame game. It's for us to sit down together, be united, and chase out the evil. If we don't chase out the evil, we'll continue to blame. And those who are the real perpetrators will be laughing behind. And the bottom line is that whoever is involved is punished.
The clerics also challenged the government to encourage herders to acquire land for ranching across the country as a private business enterprise. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The Nigerian army has been commended for its resilience in the fight against insurgency in the country. Speaking at the 2018 Nigerian Army Day celebration in Mangunu, Borno State, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo noted that the observance of the day in Borno State, which is most hit by Boko Haram, is a proof that the menace of insurgency has been heavily reduced.
The town of Mangunu, which today is playing host to us, was a few years ago firmly in the hands of the terrorists. Today, thankfully, the tide has turned. We are also celebrating the resilience of the people of Borno and reaffirming that our primary obligation to them as a government is to ensure that they are able to return to their communities and rebuild their lives and livelihoods in peace and safety.
Residents of Borno State who have been resettled in their communities and resumed their means of livelihoods used the occasion to showcase some locally made products to the Vice President. And to win the fight against insecurity in Nigeria, leaders in the southeastern part of the country at a security summit in Owerri agreed that community policing must be considered in rethinking framework for national development. They believe that community policing will go a long way in the fight against insurgency, kidnapping and checkmating infiltration of illegal arms in the country.
In the identification of crimes and how to effectively deal with it. Under this approach, the police is increasingly engaging the traditional rulers, religious organizations, market women, students, non-governmental organizations in resolving crimes in their communities.
That you need every encouragement at this time to make you succeed and the entire police force to succeed.
The Security Summit is expected to suggest credible ways of involving communities in the fight against insecurity, especially in the southeastern part of the country. Now, talking security, President Muhammadu Buhari has charged security agencies in the country to rise up to their responsibilities by ensuring that potential threats to peace and security are always nipped in the bud. This was while decorating his personal Chief Security Officer, Abdul Karim Dauda, with his new rank of Commissioner of Police. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has more.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who was represented by his Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, said those responsible for the safety and security of the nation and her citizens must always be proactive in discharging their duties. He congratulated Commissioner of Police Abdul Karim Dauda for his elevation and urged him to work harder and justify the confidence reposed in him by the Police High Command.
That you discharge your duties, public interest must override any other interest. That is the message from the President.
Born in 1963, Commissioner of Police Abdul Karim Dauda was enlisted into the Nigeria Police Force as a cadet officer in 1985 and rose through the ranks diligently to the position of Deputy Commissioner of Police in 2016. The new Commissioner of Police served in different police commands and formations where he garnered remarkable knowledge and experience of great benefit to Nigeria.
I'm very glad.
So going forward, what will the President and the nation expect from you?
It's a challenge now for me. As a Commissioner of Police, I may likely go to command or I will remain here. I will do my best.
Commissioner of Police Abdul Karim Dauda holds a bachelor's degree in public administration from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and diploma certificate in police science from the Institute of Leadership and Management, United Kingdom. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Well, do stay with us here on NTA Network News, because ahead on the news tonight, tribute to the late elder statesman Adamu Chiroma and much more.
Organization of Nigeria, SON, brings a new lease of life to Nigerian SMEs. SON has put a greater premium on developing standards aimed at improving the exports of the nation's food and cash crops. This explains why we have developed more standards for Nigeria's produce like sesame, cocoa, garri, and more, courtesy our accredited state-of-the-art laboratories. In keeping with the federal government's ease of doing business, SON has simplified its processes and turnaround time for SunCap and ManCap to reduce substandard products and legal arm to prosecute offenders. Join Standards Organization of Nigeria in ridding our nation of substandard goods due to consistent market surveillance and raids. See something, say something. The Standards Organization of Nigeria, improving life through standards.
You in the air-conditioned office with the itchy throat, Strepsils. Girl in the spotlight with the raspy throat, Strepsils. You in the pollution, yes you, dry throat, Strepsils. Hello in the downpour with the scratchy throat, take Strepsils. Strepsils, with its soothing medicinal ingredients, will heal the harm done to your throat from external factors. Strepsils! Strepsils! Strepsils, for a dry, itchy, raspy, scratchy throat.
Arising from the increasing spate of road crashes associated with articulated vehicles in the haulage industry, the federal government has summoned a meeting of critical stakeholders scheduled as follows. Date, Monday 9th July 2018. Venue, Conference Room, Office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, Free Arms Zone, Aso Villa, Abuja. Time 1 p.m. Please note that attendance is compulsory for the following: NATO, DAPMAN, MOMAN, AMATO, ATFO, PEF, JCSPTO, CFOA, Terminal Managers of Tinkan Island, Container Terminal, Tin City, Bolere SDV, Vicoma Terminal, PTML, Banawa, Sifax Terminal, Depot Petroleum Marketers Association, Dangote Cement, Nupeng PTD, NURTW, RTEAN, Olusegun A. Adekunle, Permanent Secretary, GSO, Announcer.
The Honorable Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Chibuike Rotimi Amechi, CON, welcomes
African Ministers of Transport and delegates to the 2018 African Transport Policy Program Annual General Meeting. Theme: Africa Urbanization and Response to Urban Mobility in the Digital Era. Date: Monday 2nd to Friday 6th July 2018. Time: 9 a.m. daily. Venue: Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja, FCT, Nigeria. Attendance is strictly by invitation. Signed, S. Zachary, Permanent Secretary.
Do you know that the Nigerian police now operates in the best international practices of policing? Do you know that the Nigerian police has been restructured to be more accountable and responsive to all your security challenges? Now, what the police demand from you is your trust, your collaborative efforts by providing necessary information about criminals and their activities in your neighborhood. Be vigilant. To achieve our creed as we promise, we shall police the country based on international core values of policing with integrity. We shall ensure that rule of law prevails in our actions and activities. We shall respect diversity, display courage, show compassion, and demonstrate professionalism. We shall operate within the principle of democratic policing. We shall shun corruption, and we shall make Nigeria safer and secured under the leadership of IGP Ibrahim Otum Idris.
Let the wind of change blowing across the country chase away crime for the benefit of our society. Yes, the Nigerian police says this change must come with peace and tranquility.
This message was brought to you by the Public Relations Department of the Nigerian Police Force.
Hello again. Now let's turn our attention to the National Assembly, where the Senate is to investigate the killing of a National Youth Service Corps member Wednesday morning in Abuja. The Corps member, Linda Angela Igwetu, was alleged to have been shot by a police officer. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo brings us details.
Senate President Bukola Saraki condemned the recent killing of 7 police officers in Abuja.
So I'd like us to please find out what happened as regards to these 7 police officers that were killed, the circumstances, and how we can also show commiserate with the family.
Another 2 lost their lives also in Abuja.
Senator Atta Idoko, under matter of urgent public importance, drew the attention of the Senate to the killing of a National Youth Service Corps member, Linda Angela Igwetu, alleged to have been shot by the police on her way back from a night sit-out.
They left for home around 3 a.m. Wednesday and was shot shortly after the checkpoint near Sedi Plaza by a police officer who is well identified. Bullet hit Angela on her side by the midriff, and she began losing blood in the open roof of the vehicle. She was rushed to the hospital, but they would not treat her until they saw a police report.
We had passed this compulsory treatment and care of victims of gunshot. President assented to it on the 30th, end of December. May her soul rest in perfect peace. Amen.
Senate committees on youth and sports, police affairs and health are to carry out the investigation and report back in 2 weeks. Another motion of urgent public importance bordering on security was raised by Senator Mau Ohuabunwa, urging security agencies to dismantle heavy roadblocks along major roads in the southeast so as to facilitate movement of people and goods.
To all the Nigerian police and the army to always seek to balance the imperatives of national security and the economic interests of citizens in the monitoring of our environment, especially where there are no evident security breaches.
The Senate, however, urged security agencies to visit the area so as to address the problem. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Also, on security, the House of Representatives has set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the reported protest by some personnel of the Nigerian Mobile Police Monday in Maiduguri, Borno State, over alleged non-payment of allowances. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The resolution to investigate the issue followed a motion by Representative Kingsley Chinda, to which members in unison urge that welfare of security operatives be prioritized for better performance.
The House is also aware of the provisions of Section 14(2)(b) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which states that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government.
The footage I saw of what is happening in Maiduguri is really very alarming.
If we continue this debate, it might look like we have already passed judgment. We're going to investigate this motion. Let's give everybody a chance of fair hearing.
While the House was deliberating the police protest in Maiduguri, another issue of security of national importance came to the fore.
Mr. Speaker, a few days ago, Honorable Idris from Plateau, in the course of the debates on the motion on the killings in Plateau State, he alleged that 300 men were sent to Israel for training, and they returned into the country and nobody could trace where they are.
It could be recalled that Representative Idris Wasi at Tuesday plenary urged authorities to fish out perpetrators of violent crisis in Plateau State, as he made reference to what he called a possible remote cause.
I was opportune to be a member of the transition committee when this government came to power in Plateau State. There's a company in Nigeria today in Plateau State that is working. They did importation. About 4 trailers, 4 containers were missing. They bought arms. I am willing, I said, to surrender some of these documents.
In the meantime, the Plateau caucus at the National Assembly had, while addressing a press conference, urged relevant security outfits to investigate the claims by Representative Idris Wasi.
He divulged information that require further probing by the security agencies. These claims are worthy and ought to be investigated by the police. Since he made the allegation public, the IG should also inform the public of the outcome of the investigation.
The caucus appreciated the concern shown by government and international community on the security situation in Plateau State. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And from the judiciary, a meeting of the Attorney General of the Federation with all states' Attorneys General is on in Abuja to deliberate on how the law and effective prosecution of crimes can reduce the rising state of insecurity in the country. Minister of Justice said in the face of the continuous threats to national cohesion, the law cannot remain docile. Femi Okewo reports.
Although this meeting is tagged an emergency meeting, the high turnout of Attorneys General of states shows the urgency and importance attached to the issue of security and in this case, what the law can do to stem the tide. One of the greatest areas of criticism in the spate of killings in the country now is the almost complete lack of prosecution of those committing the heinous crimes. Attorney General of the Federation said the meeting is therefore to activate the process of prosecuting offenders and ensuring justice for victims, with states getting involved.
Law and security are invariably closely intertwined and must therefore necessarily be addressed within the same context.
Professor Akin Oyebode, a professor of law at the University of Lagos, was brought in to speak to the issue of law, justice, and security in Nigeria. He says the panacea for this crisis is good governance.
We now have to seize the moment and prosecute a sustained effort to cleanse the country's image and evince a commitment to adhere with international best practices.
The Federal Ministry of Justice hopes to collate the submissions of the states as part of solutions to the killings. In Abuja, Femi Okeowo, NTA News.
Let's get more on security now as Plateau State government review the state security architecture. Let's get all the details with Miriam in our JOS Network Center for more.
Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong has said the state government will review its security architecture to cope with the rising cases of violent attacks in parts of the state. He said this at a special prayer held at the Government House Chapel to seek God's intervention over the incessant killings in the state and some parts of the country. Paul Dama takes it from here.
Every last Friday of the month is usually a day of prayer at the Government House Chapel here in Jos. Today's solemn gathering of the people of Plateau State is to pray and cry out their hearts to God for divine intervention over the killings in Plateau State.
Governor Simon Lalong said at times like this, there is need for citizens to work together to overcome the challenges confronting the state and offer relief to those affected.
The federal government must ensure that all those who are displaced should go back to their various communities. There will be no land grabbing. If the purpose of your attack is to take over the land, you will not take that land. They will return that land to the owners.
Deputy Chaplain of the Government House, Reverend Ezekiel Dewan, in a message said the congregation must have a firm belief that God will intervene and cleanse the land as they hold the key to the restoration of peace and unity in the state.
The key to peace is in your hands. The key to unity is in your hands. It determines how you use the key.
Representatives of the Bongom Jos and that of the state chief judge encouraged the congregation to be strengthened by the words of the scripture in the face of the security challenges confronting the state. A moment of silence was observed in honor of the departed souls, while a special offering was made for victims in various IDP camps who will be visited by the Government House chaplaincy. In Jos, Paul Dama, NTA News.
The Plateau State House of Assembly Special Committee on Peace and Security, inaugurated recently, has sworn into action with visits to heads of security agencies in the state to fashion out a more robust security strategy to tackle the spate of violent attacks in communities of Plateau State. Ijoma Ozemena has details.
The Special Committee on Peace and Security was constituted by the Plateau State House of Assembly 3 weeks ago to investigate the activities of the Sarasuka and other cult groups in Ibrahim Katsina Ward of Jos North local government area of the state. The committee is also saddled with the responsibility of addressing the remote and immediate causes of the recent attacks in Barakin Ladi, Riom, Basa, Manguhali, and Bokos local government areas. To ensure that lasting peace is restored in the state, the team headed by Yusuf Gagdi visited the State Police Command, Command of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Department of State Services, DSS, and Coordinator Operation Rainbow to fashion out ways of bringing an end to the clashes in the state.
Is to identify persons or individuals involved in all the violent conflicts in the areas mentioned above, to ascertain the level of destruction on all such communities affected, is to make recommendations for possible solutions.
Heads of the various security personnel assured the committee of their unrelenting support to the peace program, while urging the public to put across distress calls when the need arises. In Jos, Ijoma Ozemina, NTA News.
That's it from Jos. Have a good evening.
Mariam from Jos Network Center there. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, has reaffirmed the determination of the newly elected National Working Committee to resolve and reunite the party. He said this during a thank you visit to the Speaker after his victory at the party convention. The national chairman, who was in company of the National Working Committee of the party, met the Speaker and caucus of the APC at the National Assembly. The chairman says he's not insensitive to the issues generated during the party's congresses and convention, stressing that his promise to resolve the crisis amicably remains his priority.
The mistake of the previous one, and do a couple of things differently so that we can rebuild the House of the All Progressive Congress.
Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara expressed the confidence in the ability of the chairman to handle the issues.
It's perfectly okay. But we mustn't allow our problems to define us. Rather, we should define our problems as a party. I know that you come well prepared.
APC chairman says there is no breakup in the party as alleged.
Those who are in the politics for bread and butter, I mean, that is their problem. We are engaging the real stakeholders. I mean, between the executive and the two arms of the National Assembly, we have very, very important influential leaders, and we are engaging.
Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says 12 out of the 14 activities for the scheduled 14th July Ekiti governorship election have been fulfilled, except the last day for political party campaigns and the election day proper. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu stated these are the quarterly consultative meeting with the media. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports.
2,995 polling units have been earmarked by the Commission for the Ekiti governorship elections, in which 35 political parties featured candidates. Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, expressed confidence that the Commission will improve on what was achieved during the Anambra election in Ekiti State, which will be acceptable by all. He said the card readers have been improved upon and reconfigured, and discountenance any attempt by those he referred to as mischief makers who want to undermine the Commission's mandate and operations. Professor Yakubu appealed to the media to continue to collaborate with the Commission to ensure a successful conduct of Ekiti elections and that of Osun, as well as the 2019 general elections.
We wish to reassure Nigerians that our sensitive and non-sensitive materials, processes and procedures are secure.
The national chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, Wahid Odusile, commended INEC for the regular interaction with the media and promised every necessary support for the Commission to succeed. The Commission displayed dummy ballot papers and result sheets as part of materials for political education. In Abuja, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
As another round of elections draw nearer, the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies has implored political parties' officials to sustain the nation's democracy through institutionalization of democratic ethos. This was at a workshop organized for national publicity secretaries of political parties on their roles to play by the rules of the game. Timothy Yusuf reports.
It has been established that experiences of the past show that the general rules of political broadcast, as enshrined in the electoral legal frameworks, are often undermined by political parties and their candidates. The National Institute, for instance, observed that the build-up to the 2015 general elections was characterized by unprecedented level of campaign of calumny and character assassination.
The attendant consequences have
been the reinforcement of centrifugal forces that have tended to keep Nigeria divided along ethnic and regional lines.
Speakers at the training workshop outlined the contributions of the media towards the formulation of existing political broadcast guidelines operated by the country.
The aspect of political broadcast, as you find in the Electoral Act, drew its inspiration from the provisions of Decree 27 of 1989 and Decree 28 of 1996 and the NTA guidelines of 1979.
My advice to the political party agencies for them to familiarize themselves with some policy documents, starting with one, the Nigerian Constitution. Two, they need to go and read the Electoral Act.
On the practicality of broadcasting in the country with particular reference to the NTA, the Director News, Aliu Bababara, was on hand to dialogue with participants on experiences between politicians and the media when it comes to political broadcasting and the way to go for objectivity.
Our responsibility too is national integration. And of course to have the desired polity so that Nigeria will move and surge ahead to occupy that exalted position of greatness in the Committee of Nations.
Chairmen of the 68 political parties were also treated to another training workshop on the sideline by the National Institute on Alternative Dispute Resolution in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf, NT News.
Lagos, the center of excellence, is where we go next. Dotun is our guide.
Good evening, Joseph, and a warm welcome to Lagos. The House of Representatives Committee on Industry says it will collaborate with the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMIDEN, to ensure that 2 states from each geopolitical zones across the country benefit from the One Local Government, One Project Conditional Grant Scheme and the 2018 appropriation. The committee stated this during an oversight visit of some projects in Lagos. Amaka Owo has details.
Members of the Committee on Industry, led by its chairman, Abubakar Moriki, in company of top officials of SMIDEN while inspecting the level of rehabilitation at the 3-in-1 Workshop Industrial Development Center, Ikorodu, and the Enterprise Hub.
Sorry about that. Our Lagos Network Center seems to be having a bit of a challenge there. But let's go on from here, and this is Abuja. Stakeholders in road safety in Africa have suggested that tackling the challenges of road traffic crashes across the continent must be a shared responsibility. This is the agenda of the inaugural meeting of the Regional Network of African Transport Policy Program held in Abuja. Oyemi Ajayi has more.
About framing road safety in the context of a broader system.
Submissions at this meeting, co-organized with the World Health Organization, WHO, noted that drivers' attitude and bad roads in Africa are largely responsible for road crashes. Speakers also explained how more lives are lost on the roads, as confirmed by the road traffic crashes data, noting that this is now of global concern, with most countries overwhelmed by the issues of carnage on the roads. Chairman Senate Committee on Federal Character and Intergovernmental Affairs, Senator Tijani Kaura, said domestication of international laws and conventions relating to road safety by different countries will help raise standard of road traffic management on the continent.
In Nigeria, the legislators have pursued vigorously the enactment and the review of laws to empower traffic agencies at both federal and state levels with the discharge of their statutory functions in road traffic administration and management.
FRSC Corps Marshal Boboye Oyeyemi applauded the commitment of the member states, saying the meeting will help ensure achievement of a sustainable and organized transportation system in Africa. The Regional Network of African Transport Policy Program, with 41 member countries, is an international partnership to facilitate policy development and capacity building in the transport sector in Africa. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
In a moment or two, we'll be back with more stories, so don't go anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the daring and invincible Louis the Mosquito. Responsible for 200 malaria cases all on its own. Is there anything that can kill Louis?
Martin!
Presenting Morty's Power Guard. Its powerful formula kills malaria mosquitoes fast. So, get Morty's Power Guard.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. Every day, 16,000 children under the ages of 5 and thousands of adults die from infectious diseases. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily. In unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilet, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 Cap Full for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid, to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol Sure. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three put
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah? I was
you take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
no other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You're still watching NTN Network News. Let's now rejoin Dotun in our Lagos Network Center. Dotun, you're good to go.
Nigerian billionaire businessman and founder of Globacom, Dr. Mike Adenuga, has been conferred with the title of Commander of the Legion of Honor by the French President Emmanuel Macron in Lagos. The prestigious honor was bestowed on Dr. Adenuga at the inauguration of the new Alliance Française Mike Adenuga Center in Ikoyi, Lagos.
Adenuga, au nom de la République française, nous vous faisons commandeur de la Légion d'honneur. Merci.
Explaining why the French government decided to confer the country's highest honor on Adenuga, President Macron described Adenuga as a true role model for Africa, who has contributed immensely to the growth of the African and French economy. The French president applauded Dr. Adenuga on his promotion of the French language and culture in Nigeria and also commended Bella Disu, Dr. Adenuga's daughter, who conceived, coordinated and executed the Alliance Française project.
Thank you very much for your commitment to the promotion of French language, French culture in Nigeria, and I'm sure the next time I will meet you in France, your French will be outstanding. Thank you.
He disclosed that in his 2.5 years in Nigeria, he can testify that Nigeria holds one trump card that is more important to surmount all challenges it may be facing now. This, he said, is the incomparable spirit of entrepreneur, tenacity, and ability to think out of the box, adding that Dr. Adenuga personifies all these qualities. With this conferment, Dr. Mike Adenuga becomes the first Nigerian to be decorated with the award.
And that's our contribution from Lagos. It's back to Joseph in Abuja.
Thank you, Dotun. Now we'll get you all the latest in the 2018 FIFA World Cup when we return.
Experience, they say, is the best teacher.
They hold us from the sea. Thank God that we came back home. They should not go there because it's not good. It's a very bad place. So that's just my advice.
Even now, sir, if they are shooting the boat they are going to use to go Italy, may they stop it. Our country is good. Our country is a blessed country. Now I know our country is a blessed country. I know before I for not travel from Nigeria to Libya. I know how much I spent.
Let these personal experiences serve as a lesson to all who would repeat their mistakes. A word is enough for the wise.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Straight to sports now. 2018 FIFA World Cup quarter-finals begin Friday in Russia with European and South American teams in a race for football's most coveted prize. Ayodeji Makinde is our guide.
1998 FIFA World Champions France continued their bid for a second title with a crunch quarter-final tie against Uruguay Friday at the Nizhny Novgorod Stadium.